Parsha Beshalach is full of so many stories. I would argue that most people only know about part one of Beshalach and not part two, because part one is so powerful and so strong. Honestly, it would have been enough if Hashem just would have had that be the Parsha. Part one is the Jewish people leave Egypt. They come to the Red Sea. Pharaoh's heart is hardened by God. Him and his men chase after them. And of course, we know the famous story that Hashem performed this unbelievable miracle through Moshe, where he split the sea and the Jews crossed over while the Egyptians drowned. And the end, right? But it's not the end, because after they cross over to dry land, there's a whole nother part of this Parsha. And it would have been enough. So why did we add the second part? What is so important? And there must be something that strings all these stories together. So in one of my favorite books in the Parsha, Explorations by Rabbi Ari Kahn, which I quote all the time, in the essay From the Sea to Sinai, Rabbi Kahn does a brilliant job connecting all the dots. You see, when the Jewish people were in Egypt, they needed miracles. They needed miracles to take down the concept that the Pharaoh controlled nature. The Pharaoh and his magicians were able to perform some miracles, but not all. And so God had to come down and say, I'm the real God. Will the real God please stand up? He's like, it's me, it's not this man. So they needed to see all these supernatural miracles in order to realize that there's something above the Pharaoh, above nature that we can't see, that is orchestrating everything around us. And of course, the 13th plague, which is the crossing of the sea, is like the cherry on top of the miracle of miracles. But then something interesting happens. The Jewish people start complaining. And that's where part two opens. They're looking for water for 3 days. When they finally find water, they complain that it's bitter. So there's a question that's asked. If you're so thirsty you haven't had water for 3 days, how is it possible that you would complain about the bitterness? You're focused on not dying. You would drink any water, even if you risk getting sick from it. So Hashem realized when they said the water is bitter, they were really complaining about something else. They were missing that connection to God. They were having almost a, what's it called when you have an addiction and then you withdrawal. Sorry, one of those days. They were having a withdrawal from the major miracles. And so Hashem said, I know, they just want to connect with me. So what does he do? He takes a tree, puts it in, has it grow out of the water, and it turns the water sweet. Now what really is going on, the rabbis explain that tree in the water was the Eitz Chaim, the tree of life, which is represented by Torah. And he's basically realizing that the Jewish people want to connect with him. They need to have the Torah. That's really what they want. And he's priming them for Mount Sinai. And then the next complaint, there's no food. And again, God realizes, yes, I know they think they want food, but I know deep down there's something they're even hungrier for than food. Again, it's a connection to God. So what he does is he sends the manna from the sky, which I imagine is some cloud-like, dewy, magical substance, which is the food they ate. And this time he gives them another gift, another lesson. 5 days a week they get one portion. On the 6th day they get a double portion. And on the 7th day, nothing. What does that sound like? It sounds like Shabbat. We prep and we prep and we prep on Friday to make sure we have enough food on Saturday when we can't cook. Because that's the day we connect to God. That's the day that God rests. That's the day that we rest and we say, yep, we know that we can create. We know you're in your image, but there's something bigger than us that can create, and we're going to acknowledge that that's the real creator. And again, he's priming them for Mount Sinai. And then something goes terribly wrong. They say something that is so sad. They ask Moses after they again complain about there not being water, is God really amongst us, yes or no? I mean, they just saw so many miracles. They saw the God take us out of Egypt. They saw the miracles after Egypt. And they're really questioning, is God with us? I mean, come on, like what is wrong with these people? But again, Hashem realized that they really, truly just want to connect with him. But they were so confused. They didn't know how to express that they were still needing more. They weren't ready to let go of the miracles. They weren't ready to let go of that connection. They just wanted to connect to Hashem to the point that they would even say, "Are you here?" It's almost like those boys who, to get girls' attentions, pick on them, right? It's like negative attention's better than no attention. It's the same thing. So of course, what happens? This time Hashem doesn't just bail them out with some miracle. Amalek comes, our arch nemesis, that believes that there is nothing above nature. It's not the Pharaoh. It's not our God. It's nothing. That everything's just a coincidence and there's nothing really to connect to. That life is just on the surface, what you see, and there is nothing deeper. So don't try and connect to anything above yourself because you're never going to have it. And it's just so sad to me because it's basically like Hashem is saying to the Jewish people, you're questioning whether I'm here. Like you need that, you're that confused about your connection to me. And it's almost like we have to go to war to wake up and remember Hashem is here. But Amalek is so much deeper than that. Amalek represents safek, which is doubt. And it's the most dangerous thing that can happen to a person. When you doubt who you are, when you doubt your friendships, your relationships, when you doubt everything, you start to go down really into like darkness. It's the root of what causes, I think, all errors, all sins. And the Jewish people have been fighting this for thousands of years. And I think that because they doubted their relationship with God and they couldn't figure out where it was coming from, it caused them, again, to complain about things that weren't connected to God, but they couldn't even realize that because they were so confused. And that's still plaguing us today. How many times do we think that something's bothering us only to get that thing and still not be happy? It's the worst feeling. And then you're like, oh my gosh, like if that doesn't make me happy, what will? And then you start to doubt yourself and doubt your connection to yourself and your trust with yourself. And people start to go into depression. I mean, it's horrible. But that's the problem. There's always a deeper reason. And it's so important in life to ask yourself when something bothers you and you start to complain, what am I really upset about? What truly will make me happy? Not just the surface, which is where most people go, but beneath the surface. What is it that I'm not connecting to? Whether it's myself, whether it's another person, whether it's God, what connection am I lacking that's making me this upset that I'm complaining about something else? And it's just so sad to me how much we all suffer with this. You know, Hashem is saying, you have all the powers within yourself. I can do unbelievable miracles. I can make the sea split. But I can't change what goes on in here. Only you can do that. And I can try and prime you and help you along the way and guide you to hopefully see what you really want. But only you could fully change on the inside. And that's what Beshalach is all about. Beshalach is about realizing that we need connections. We need spirituality. We need depth. It is so important to the human condition. And Amalek, which believes that there is no God, there's nothing above nature, that creates doubt because that's such a sad existence. You're constantly going to be dissatisfied. You're going to have an appetite and a thirst that could never get quenched because you're not realizing what's actually missing. And that's why all of the most evil people who came from Amalek, Haman and Hitler, they were never satisfied until the very end because they never got to the root of what was actually bothering them. And so, my friends, when you read Parsha Beshalach, remember all the miracles, but remember that you're also a miracle, and you also have something divine and special within you that somebody else doesn't have. And there's something in you that's not all part of this world. It's outside of this world. And if you don't try and make connections to that, and you don't try to see something outside of yourself, it could lead to a lot of doubt, and a lot of complaints and problems. Shabbat Shalom.